Wow. Hey. Pura vida. Pure life. Much love and respect. What's up? What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys making the time to be here again. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. I guess we'll get started. When they got 30 something people here, it's all right. They don't send out notifications. They don't let everybody know. I'm really being shadow banned like lately. Like I'm getting no viewership. It's all good though. We continue. I ain't gonna stop doing what I've been doing all these years. I'm gonna do it the same way. You know, we're gonna go ahead and try to get through another book that we've been kind of reviewing, reading. Chapter by chapter. For under fair use for educational purposes. So we can discuss what we learn and read and create our own conclusions based on what we already know, not what we just believe, but what we already know. So welcome, welcome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Let me pull out the book. Let me pull out the book. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get into this book again. America, the Background of Columbus. Being a survey of the revelations of science with respect to the Western Hemisphere and its peoples before its unveiling by Columbus. Unveiling. Yeah, right. He didn't unveil nothing. Ancient people knew about the Americas forever. They wrote about it in their so-called mythology. So-called. Welcome, welcome. Shout out to everybody in the live chat coming through. Give us some time. Hey guys, so check it out. So you guys are gonna help me get through a hard moment of my day. Why I'm saying that? Because I started a I started a 36-hour fast. Okay, last night around 8 o'clock. After 8, I didn't eat. It's the first time I actually try to voluntarily do a fast like this. Intimate fast. Where I'm trying to reset my body and clean it up a little bit and get some mental clarity and get rid of some toxins and all that. So you guys look up 36-hour fast and what it can do for your body. And if you can go longer, hey man, it's been hard because I eat in the mornings, guys. I'm always eating. I'm always snacking, even if it's a fruit, even if it's some almonds and peanuts. Well, I wait for dinner or whatever. I never really do this, so I've been on a water fast. So I have been drinking water, as much as I can. Again, it's not easy for me, guys, because I do get the munchies because of certain things, So it's like, so you guys are gonna help me get through another 2 or 3 hours of my day. Keep my mind focused on this, all right? So I recommend you try it out one day if you can. Don't do the 36-hour right away if you've never done anything like this and if you're not in a healthy lifestyle. But you can start out with 10 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, and then move your way up. I think I do sometimes 16 hours without wanting to, like, you go to bed, you don't eat after a certain hour, and then maybe you might not eat till like, because of certain situations in life, right? 12 o'clock or after 1, that's like a 16-hour, fast, Yeah, but I'm trying to do the 36-hour. Okay, so right now I'm on hour 18. I'm about 18 and a half hours in. I'm about 18 and a half hours in. So I think I already exceeded my expectations. I'm already proud of myself. So I'm gonna just try to go as long as I can. I'm trying to reach at least 8:30 in the morning tomorrow. I'm trying to do that. I've never really done this. Hey, Matt says I do it a lot. Hey, Matt, I think I do it a lot. Maybe 12 regularly, 12 to 16 maybe, without even realizing. But I think I do end up eating at least a banana or something in there. That kind of messes it up, right? That's calories. So Sorry to go off topic. I know you're here for the history. I just wanted you guys to know what I'm like, doing and how you're helping me get through the day. All right, we're gonna re-sign right here. It does get trippy, man. I'm tripping. I can do it. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the motivation. I'm trying, guys. Like it's not easy, but then I think about all those people around the world starving and stuff. So I'm like, come on, I can do it, man. Like your body has a lot of reserves. You got to just activate, get to that part. That's what I'm learning. You got to get to that part where your body's okay. I'm gonna grab whatever in the body and get rid of all the bad stuff. And your brain and your cells repairs your cells, gets rid of fat, a lot of things, guys. It's your diabetes, you know, all that. So I recommend it sometimes. All right. Hey DJ, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody in the live chat? All my moderators, what up, sons? All right, we here. Good. Okay. All the real people here. We can get started. Hey, so we got this book again, and this is written by Jennings C. Weiss. Again, we have been reading the ketones. Yeah, I'm trying to activate that exactly. I'm at that stage right now, man. I'm at that stage right now. Finally. Yeah. So America, the background of Columbus, right? By Jennings C. Weiss. This is from the 1940s. And again, we've read already, reviewed chapters 1 through 6. So we're going to chapter 7 today. We've pulled out a lot of good, drop out of this book. There's a lot of hijack, there's a lot of hijack and things that are just the author starts going off, babbling a little bit his opinions, but in general, he does try to like give opinions based on certain sources. So he does have the footnotes with the books we're familiar with that we read, and historic books and all that. But he does his little interpretations here and there. He or she, I don't know if it's a male or female. But either way, we know enough, I think, a little bit all these years of research to be able to discern the info, right? And know when to pull out the babies and dodge the hijacks, all right? Chapter 7. Let me know if the music's too loud. I can put it down. It says here, chapter 7. The ancient civilizations of America. The stone boilers of the Post-Noachean cycle. Mona-su-ka-pa-nough and the shrines of Accoma at Plymouth Rock in Virginia and Arizona. The Watcher at Mount Washington. The Sphinx Rock. The Neolithic Age. The Pelasgi and the Celts. A new migration of red men to America. And the Cataclysm of 10,000 BC. That's literally, I guess, all the topics, right, the author's going to go over in this chapter. So let's see what it's saying, man. Again, I haven't read this at all. I haven't read this. I don't know what's in here. We're going to read it together. All right, let's see. It says the cyclic theory of history, the only tenable one, well illustrated by the series of cultures which appeared in the land of the true cross. All right, remember, this is the land of the true cross. We got over that in a previous chapter, and many other researches and books we've done. Research we've done and read. We've gone over this. America, even the land of America, right? The true cross. Because civilization did not evolve evenly, though at varying rate, as if upward along an inclined plane to its present altitude, but in spiral fashion with cycles of varying swings, each of which may have dipped at some point below the preceding one. 5 successions of cultures in the present area of the United States have been identified. It says here, 1, the Aboriginal pioneer, the Aboriginal. 2, the stone boilers. 3, the farmers and potters. 4, the builders. 5, the grand pipe. So this is their breakdown, right? Let's see what they mean by that, right? There's also in Peru, the evidence of 5 successive cultures has been found. So look at, he has footnotes. This is what I want to show you guys, right? So he's saying footnote number 2, that's from Squire, Peru, the work of Squire on Peru from 1877. So we had to go to the source and read it ourselves and interpret what they're saying, right? But this is his interpretation of what they're saying, right? Like, so we pull out the baby. That's what I'm saying. We got to be able to know and discern and know that there's other info out there we can use, right? So yeah, the first, right? You guys saw the first. So The same breakdown that he's saying is 6 in Peru. Therefore, in respect to America, just as in the case of all other countries, we must conceive of human knowledge as the jetsam cast upon the beach of the present by countless waves of varying heights and throws, each bringing out of the ocean of time the flotsam of his respective cycle. Because this, in fact, is the way civilization has evolved, always some scholar or scientist is claiming to have discovered that which has been known for ages. All right, nothing new under the sun. It has been forgotten, though, right? Forgotten and brought to light again. We're just remembering, even this research here, including this knowledge from the dolmens and the spiral ascent of the cone of Xochicalco. It is evident that those who erected them saw in the Numa a natural symbol of the evolution of knowledge as well as life. By reason of the deep intrusion of the ice cap into the Western Hemisphere, the population would have expanded more rapidly in the equatorial and temperate zones than in the northern zone covered by the ice cap, so that in these parts the new civilization appeared. Moreover, so great was the climatic factor in the history of America that although a population of 50 million in 1200 AD had been allowed the region south of the Rio Grande by Spinden, at no time in the present age, according to the best authority, did the region to the north possess more than 1,150,000 inhabitants. All right. Again, we grab this info, we discern it, like where they're getting the numbers from, how they, but they're saying that somebody quoted, he says Spinden said that whoever Spinden is, that there was approximately 50 million supposedly people in the Americas, right, at 1200 AD. Of this maximum 72,000, so he said that went down to 1,150,000, right? So of this maximum 72,000 are allowed Alaska, 10,000 to Greenland, 220,000 to the British America, and 846,000 to the present area of the United States. These figures themselves are conclusive of the adverse climatic conditions which persisted down the ages in North America, holding a sparse population in the state of savagery, from which a primitive type of agriculture had only begun to release them when the Europeans arrived. Although lack of data makes it useless to dogmatize with respect to when the cycle of the pioneers ended, the Elder Edda shows what happened to the peoples of Europe during the second climatic ordeal called the Winter of the Wolf, during which the cavemen are depicted fighting with wolves for the frozen carcasses of the dead. In all probability, the so-called cow worship symbolized by the horns of Isis and those worn by the Beowulf peoples of prehistoric Europe, and also the Sakims of America, had evolved before the end of the Naochean cycle in 500,000 BC. Hey, again, he has the source at 6. Let's see what he's sourcing right here. To this worship trace the names of Kabul, the Oxus, and Moscow. Moscow, huh? He might be onto something. The etymology of these words, right? Why is Moscow? In complete conformity with the Tamil calendar and the chronology of Josephus, the Chaldean historian Berosus carried the 10 divine dynasties of Chaldea back 432,000 years before the Persian conquest in 535 BC. And today, his calculations are confirmed by mathematical analysis. Again, these numbers, right? Their interpretations of ancient scripts and stuff. This carries the Chaldean cycle back to the age when, according to the chronology of Josephus, the cycle of Abramu, to whom the eponym Abraham is assigned in Genesis, in short, now it was that Israel, the rule with God, instead of the rule by the gods, was instituted by the Hebraic patriarchs represented by Father Abraham, whose remains are said to have been enshrined at Mount Haran, where the Mosque of Haran now stands. So this author kind of says, like the Bible is like very symbolical, and he says all the names mean something, and I don't know if he's trying to say they weren't real, actual people, but it kind of tries to hint at a lot of the chapters. But then he says things like this, where they're saying his body, right, is buried here. So I thought he was just symbolic. So either way, we know both can be real. Both. That's, Most High can work in mad different ways, man. You get it? We have seen that the Aryan Indo-Europeans, represented by Ru, had in fact brought the mysteries of Is to Isa or Iskalon at the pool of Silium. All right. Just repeating what I said earlier, just kind of like, as above, so below, right? As above, so below. Metaphysical and physical. Spiritually and physically. Israel is real, is real. So, where Jerusalem arose on the meridian of Iosinfa, Sembla, at the latitude of Man Azorowar, but this sacred region is also marked by Carmel, Galilee, Babylon, Eriki, Ur, and Eridu, Sais, the island of Pyro at the mouth of the Nile, where Alexandria eventually arose, and also by Nagasaki and the pueblos in Arizona. All right. Remember, a lot of these ancient sites were somewhere else in the earth, well, in our plane, right? Not always what they tell us they are, today, oh, this was the ancient place. We know how to dodge the hijack with that. Thus, it appears why Abraham and the patriarch of Israel was said to have been born in Ur, in Chaldea, in Ireland, huh? British Isles, when it was connected, maybe, to Ruta, the North Atlantic continent. Once it is recognized who Abraham really was, the biblical student will have no difficulty in understanding the story given in Genesis dealing with the conquest of the idolatrous Canaanites by Abraham. As shown by Josephus, the eponym Abraham implies the Hebrews constituting the tribe called the Scepter of Judah, descended from Eber, who left Ur and moved into the sheltered, well-protected region of Haran to escape the persecutions of the Chaldeans, the Arphaxhadites, the people descendants from Arphaxad, a son of Shem. There they converted a sufficient number of Hittites and Canaanites to seize Damascus, in which the name of the Danitic ancestors of the Syrians appear. Danite ancestors of the Syrians. From here, the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Dan, the name bearers, fought their way through Galilee, Gallia, or Gaul, right? The Gauls, Portugal, ancestors of the Nazarenes had established the mysteries at Carmel to Bethel. From there, they came to Sinai, or Sinai, Sinaloa, whence the eponymous Abraham and his wife Sarah, representing converted Chaldeans, Abraham, visited Egypt and expounded the doctrine of Israel. It's not a doctrine. It's the law, right? The commandments that they followed, the agreement is not religion. That's the hijack. In short, it was now that the mysteries of Israel merged with those of Mother Mu or Mut. Queen Mu or Mu, the land, the motherland, and Mut, and those of Adin or Neith to bring into being Isis, who reflected the influence of the Chaldean Ishtar and the Assyrian Ashtaroth. That's pretty interesting how Mother Mu, huh? Remember how Augustus Leplejon and Queen Mu and all that, he relates Queen Mu to Isis, right? Meaning Isis means Isin, which is little sister in Maya. Queen Mu bueno, So look how it relates it to Isis, saying that became Isis. Mother Mu, to bring into being Isis, reflected the Chaldean Ishtar. All the same, right? It's all the same phantoms and duplicates, right? Thus, as shown by the hymns of Orpheus in the Mosaic Age, Egypt became the twin sister of Chaldea. Ancient Egypt in America, Chaldea, Ireland. Oh yeah, there's a lot of connection with ancient Ireland and Americas. So that, remember Princess Kosha coming in from so-called Egypt, all these gypsies, Jeremiah and Queen Tefi and all these people, they will come from the real old world. Yeah. So Egypt became the twin sister of Chaldea, huh? Twin. So that the original site of Cairo was called Babylon. Oh, you mean Cairo right here in America, the States? Oh, that was Babylon, you're saying? As being designated in the hieroglyphics. As time went on, Abraham and Sarah were expelled from Egypt. Huh. When the Israelites were driven out, they returned to Canaan, where the eponymous Abraham allied himself with Melchizedek, the adept of the Hittites, who had built Jerusalem and enshrined the Kabila there. Then evolved the Israelitic generations of Isaac and Jacob, the sons of Isaac, Saxons, and Jacob, huh? Israel. The Egyptians were still hostile to their former invaders when Joseph, right, arrived at Memphis. Oh, we got a Memphis here too. Oh, we know Joseph was in the Americas. Oh, we know what they found in Burroughs Cave, right? So-called Burroughs Cave and these copper plates from Michigan depicting Joseph and all these. Yeah, we know. Yeah. So you guys gotta understand, like Babylon is not like a real place. It was like a culture, like an empire, different peoples, you know. It became symbolic for the hijack, right? I get what you guys saying. So Babylon was here, you know, it's symbolic. It became symbolic, right? What it represented. Babylon is what it represented, you know. That's why you gotta get out of Babylon. Stop Babylon. Stop Babylon. Get out of Babylon, yo. Freedom, spiritual freedom, you know. So continuing. So Joseph, right, in Egypt, we know ancient America, right? He arrived at Memphis. What Memphis? Soon he became the virtual ruler of Egypt, right? Joseph, who's Joseph, guys? If you don't know biblical stories or genealogy, history, Joseph is one of the Israelite patriarchs, a son of Jacob, right? The father of Manasseh and Ephraim, right? The one who got sold by his brothers. Yeah, their brothers sold him into slavery. And eventually he ended up in Egypt as a king ruling Egypt, where his brothers eventually seeked for help because they were starving. You know, this is the stories, right? You guys got to understand. No, you know, had to have some background. And they needed corn, right? Corn. They needed corn. They had plenty of corn in Egypt. He had he had saved for 7 years, waiting for the 7 years of famine, and nobody had a food other than Joseph and the Egyptians, so-called Egyptians, because he told them, hey, you should save the corn. So they went to go see him and found out that was their brother. He was king now. So that's the whole story there. Yeah, I don't mean to go off topic here, just so you understand the context. Who's Joseph? That's who they're talking about. He became the virtual ruler of Egypt. The Most High made it possible. Thereupon, Jacob and his other sons arrived. Like I was just saying, now the 7 sons of Jacob, implying Hawa, became the virtual rulers of the land. The wisdom philosophy re-enshrined by them at Memphis finds its symbol in Jacob's well. This is shown by Josephus was the evolution of the Israel of historic times, of the Israel of historic times. Oh, I thought it was just symbolic. According exactly with the chronology of Berosus, against the background of which the history of the Middle Stone Age of Gallia is readily interpreted. Therefore, we may safely assume that the end of the cycle of Shem in 348,000 BC, the end of the cycle of Shem, this, you know, where they getting the numbers, I don't know, but it's interesting, right? 348,000 BC implies the time when the scepter tribe of Judah united with the Nazarenes, constituting the tribe of Dan, the name bearers of Damascus and Galilee, who inhabited Jordan. Yep, that's named after Danites. Yes, it is. Jordan. We've gone over this info too. Check out my 3 Danite videos that I have. It was during the Middle Stone Age that the kitchen middens, Remember who those were? The kitchen maidens has to do with the pre-mound builders. Corresponding to the stones of the stone boilers in America appeared in Gallia. By analogy, therefore, we are able to relate the second cycle of American culture to the cycle of Abraham. So in the book we were reading, America Before Columbus, another one, not this one. I have a whole playlist for that book too, guys, if you're new to my channel. Great drop. It was telling us about, we learned about the kitchen middens, so-called people, right? And how they brought that over to Europe from here. It was first here. Like we broke that down. Like he literally proved it. It's more older over here. It's more newer in Europe, even in their own carbon datings and all that. Yeah. So continuing, it says the Galapagos group, marking the basic meridian 90 west at the equator in America. So listen to this, the Galapagos Islands, right off the coast in the Pacific. So it's like in between, going down from Costa Rica and going up from Ecuador, like in between both of them out towards the Pacific is the Galapagos Islands, which was eventually at one point connected still to the mainland America and lands that have gone down or you know, underwater now. Yeah, that was connected more to the Americas too. Like all that plays in when we talk about Lemuria and all that, you know. So it says the Galapagos group, marking the basic meridian 90 west at the equator in America, once a part of Daitya, a part of what? Daitya, owed their name to tortoises. So he broke down what Daitya was in ancient, you know, in previous chapters. So they own their name to what? The turtles. Of course, to the Polynesian myth that man survived the deluge on the back of a great turtle. Come on, guys. Come on now. Body bag for the illusion. Yo, shout out to Drop, man. You guys understand what they're saying here? How did men survive? Oh, they were in Turtle Island. They were in Turtle Island. And that's a Polynesian myth, so-called myth. So-called myth. You guys understand? How did man survive the deluge? Well, on the back of the great turtle, of course, man. Turtle Island, man. The antiquity of the pot boiler culture is indicated by the artifacts found in the guano beads or beds of these islands. Sorry, beds, and in their geodetic connections. According to Alexander Humboldt, these artifacts had been deposited not less than 80,000 years ago. According to Humboldt, who, you know, his books from the 1700s we have quoted, very respected in history, right? He says these are about 80,000 years old, and in all likelihood even earlier. Tower Island is but a few miles west of Quito, also on the equator near Chimborazo. Chimborazo. Okay. Now, guys, because we're live, you know, let me just, you know, we're not in no hurry. I'm not in no hurry because I got to get through this fast. So, hey, anyways, before I continue, if you haven't watched the previous readings and reviews for educational purpose, fair use of this book, here is the playlist. A little bit, it's almost named like the book America Being a Survey of the Scientific, you know, revelations of the Western Hemisphere, blah, blah, blah. That's what it's called. You'll see it in my different playlists, and you can go ahead and catch up on the previous chapters, which we got so much drop already. Like some of these chapters are really good. Like some of these chapters are really good. Information, you know, that we added to the previous research we've had and help us understand things a little, you know. But I mean, we've read so many great books and things that we pull out things out of, right? So what did I want to do real quick? Want to get a reference since we're live. All right, and we're talking about Galapagos Islands. Oh, we in San Jose, baby. We in San Jose. Now you know where I'm at. Where is San Jose? California. Hold on. Galapagos Islands. Right. It says Ecuador. Wow. Anyways, they gave it to Ecuador because it's like, think a little closer. Let me see. So Ecuador is right here, right? But look, if you go a little bit north, you got Costa Rica, Panama, right? So yeah, they got the right. Ecuador got the right. Anyways, the Galapagos Islands, what they're saying, right? This was attached, guys, to of America and other lands that were now underwater. Um, let's see if they have the stone heads here. They're famous for their stone heads. You guys know, right? They're just there, appearing out of nowhere, right? So let me just show you. Got a lot. This is in case a lot of people might not know this, right? So look how they don't even want to give it to me. So this stone heads right here, just on the side of the mountain. A lot of people say they go further in and they're gigantic, and I think they have proven that. But look, they don't even want to. That's funny. Stone heads. Come on now. They hate it. You see how they don't trying to like want me to get specific? All right, here we go. Right. This is what's on that island, on these islands. They don't know who built them, guys. They don't know who built them. Okay. They don't know who built these stone heads. They're probably going deeper. They're just in the island, like looking out, in these remote islands in the Pacific, the Galapagos Islands. Okay, so that's what we're kind of reading about right now, right? Near Central America, South in the Pacific side. Again, we have what they were talking about. We're talking about Little Egypt or Egypt. What we talking about really? Huh? Babylon, Assyria, Akkadians. What we talking about really? Chaldea. What we talking about really? Huh? When all this was just connected. There was a land bridge between Europe and America, and there was a moment when Central America was like part more of the Galapagos and other continents, and South America and North America were not connected. It's different land structures or geographical changes, right, have happened. All right, go back to the book. Back to the book. So, Tower Island is but a few miles west of Quito, also on the equator near Chimborazo. Here, magnificent prehistoric astronomical observatories eventually arose. While the meridian of Tower Island passes through Copan and Uxmala at the antipodes of Cambodia on the antipodal meridian of La Hasa. The meridian of Quito passes through Cuba, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then squarely through the stone boiler remains among the 5 towns occupied in 1607 by the Siouan Monacans of Virginia, Eastern Siouans, related to the Catawba, the Saponi, and all the other Eastern Siouans, who were akin to the Saponi, look, I just said that, of North Carolina, being part of the Tudelo family of Siouans. Guys don't know in the Tudelo language, which is related to all these people, these Eastern Siouan people, the word Saponi means Blackfoot. Blackfoot. So who are the Blackfoot really? When you say you have Blackfoot ancestry, you got to look into that. Mona-su-ka-pa-nough, on the present farm of Carr's Hill, just north of Charlottesville, on the Rive Ana within sight of Monticello, marks the antipodes of the abyss of learning in the Gobi. Huh? Wow, hold up. That just confused me. He just referenced something from the Americas. He says it marks the antipodes of the abyss of the learning as far as people went. Wow. Here therefore very ancient artifacts have been found. And that is the 5 Monacan towns of Virginia. That's the book. See, guys, there is real history here. There is real sources here that the author's going by. I just want you to see. I don't just pick any book and just start believing everything the author's saying. I just try to understand where he's getting his info, why he's saying this, and I'm interested in a lot of different people's conclusion based on what they find. But remember that a lot of these authors are very limited with the info, especially not understanding the true old world and the whole history and the lies out of Africa and all that, right? So they still do a pretty good job trying to explain this ancient history of America that nobody really talks about, right? So Huh. There have been a lot of ancient artifacts found there, right? Amongst the eastern Suan, right? In that area of the states. Just to the south of the Watch Hill, today called Monticello, is a cave. From it, the meridian of Quito passes through the caverns of Luraya in the valley of the Shenandoah, where dwelt the Siouan Manahuacs. Thence it passes through the Alleghenies, Wyoming, and Niagara counties in New York, Lake Ontario, Quebec, Hudson Strait, Baffin Land, and the high point of Ellesmere Island, while the antipodal meridian is marked by Chara Chota in the Gobi. Luray Caverns mark the latitude of Cahokia, where a great mound was eventually erected at 90 degrees west on the antipodal meridian of Lhasa. So basically, guys, what this guy is like, the author's breaking down, he or she, a lot of these ancient sites of the Americas are built on these meridian lines, like exactly there. You know, the whole energy, you know that. We already know that. And Europe too, all over the world. But he's just pointing that out here. At the same latitude in Canyon City, just below Pikes Peak, and also Anaconda on the antipodal meridian of Omsk Lake Baikal and Karakorum, inasmuch as Mona-su-ka-pa-nough stands at the exact antipodes of the abyss of learning, and Luray, Cahokia, and Pueblo in Colorado mark the southern boundary of the ice cap, it is useless to imagine the stone boilers and the surveyors at Quito had no knowledge of Asia. It's useless, he's saying. You think they didn't know about Asia? Ancient Americans? The cultural waves from Asia to Arctic America fully explain the name Wyoming, common to New York and the Rockies, as well as Miami in Ohio and Miami in Florida, where in the name of Maya, Miami in Ohio, Miami in Florida, Maya is preserved. The name Maya is preserved. And the three peculiarly sacred shrines of Accoma, the present Kingston near Plymouth Rock in Massachusetts, right? Accomac in Virginia, at the latitude of Mona-su-ka-pa-nough, and Accoma among the pueblos of Rio Grande. The Pueblo people are called Accoma, and there's an Accomac tribe in the eastern woodlands, right? He's saying they might be related. Not talking about the modern day people. They might not even know they're related. I'm talking about the ancient connection here with that name, why they both got the same name. That's a deep one right there. Hey, Joe, check it out, Joe. And then we find conclusive proof of a continuing common influence upon the red race from the land of Genesi and the Ming in Siberia. Again, this is Asia Major, in case you guys, you know. And when we talk about Asia Minor, that's over there, right? There was more land connected from Asia to the Americas, not just the Bering Strait. It was a lot of land. And again, remember, continents were different back in the day. Remember all the animals of the Americas that originated here that ended up in Asia? How did they get there? Not just through Bering Straits, guys. The concept we have of history is based on modern concepts and geography and history and all that is, and if it's based on a lie, we're not getting correct info. We're not doing correct reasoning. An examination of the terrestrial globe will show the terrestrial plane will show that the five colossi in the valley of Bamiyan near Kabul in the Parapamisian range, also called the Hindu Kush, not only mark the latitude of Rhodes, where the famous Colossus eventually arose, but the antipodal meridian, 112 West, passing near Casa Grande, among the pueblos on the Rio Grande, and through the Grand Rapid today called Easter Island, where five similar colossi appear. Huh. That's interesting because Rhodes, Rhodesia, remember what Rhodesia was? Rhodes, the city of Rhodesia, Rhodes, that was in Arizona, guys. Remember? And remember the Tucson crosses? You remember the Tucson crosses, the whole video I got, a whole book we've been reading. I haven't even finished the book yet. It's been a while since we read from that book, by the way. Thanks for reminding me. I got to get back into that book. Rhodes, and we have Rhodesia, right? In Arizona, ancient Roman colony, Rhodesia. Rhodes, Rhode Island. Huh. Look at how the connection, that's interesting how they connect that. And then we know there was a Rhodesia there. Not alone in these colossi and the one in southern India do we find the evidence of how persistently prehistoric man ascribed to the serpent of eternity his own image. The post-diluvians of America were no exception to the rule. Originally, the domain of Massachusetts included the sacred shrines of Accoma and the Narragansett. That's Narragansett, but remember how they related that actually has the word Naga in it. Okay, the Narragansett in the domain of the Pataguamscot, and the Pequot, shrine of Mystic in Connecticut. Oh, this is deep right here. Like, with it, it also lay the White Mountains, of which the highest peak is Mount Washington. That's a beautiful place I've been to. Marking the meridian of Lake Titicaca in Peru. Look how it connects. The antipodal meridian of the Gobi and the Great Raja in Borneo. That's how they connect. Franconia Notch marks the meridian of Cusco, the Inca capital in Peru. And Cusco means the navel of the world, right? The navel of the world, the belly button, the middle, the center of the earth. That's what it means. The Inca capital in Peru and also the right member of the Geodetic X. Huh. Here is to be seen in the towering cliff a titanic profile long known as the Watcher, in which the natives saw the face of the Chi, or Great Spirit, designated by the shamans as Set or Set Ibos. What? I'm gonna show you what they're talking about, guys. The Watcher, I was able to witness that. I was able to see that monument. It's not there no more. I think it fell off or something happened. The rocks fell and it's not there anymore. It was a head. It was a face of a supposed what looked like an old man on a cliff in New Hampshire. I'm gonna show you guys. He's saying they made that into Set. What? Hold on, let's go. I'm gonna show you right now. Hold on, let's see if they still got images of it. Hopefully there's still some on the internet. Okay. Old man, look, New Hampshire. Let's see if it comes up. I want to show you guys. The old man of the mountain. There we go. All right. I'm gonna show you. I'm not making this up. He looked like a transformer. Look like the head sticking out. Look at that. You see? Looking like Transformer and stuff. Transformers, more than meets the eye. You guys see that? I drove past that. You used to be able to drive on the highway going up to White Mountains and see it. Okay? It's not there no more, guys. They did something to it. They say it fell off or whatever, but they destroyed it probably, see? They took off the nose, just like in Egyptian statues. They took off the nose to impose what basically still goes on today, you see? Yo, shout out to Nas. That's where they got Transformers from. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, they did something to it, man. There was like stories about it and everything, you know? Listen to what they're telling you, man. Old man of the mountains. Look at that. Old man of the mountains. Is that a giant that got stuck right there? That's what the mud fossil people say. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe not. It was a black giant, huh? That's what you're saying? Look, they even have it on the coin. See, old man of the mountain. Like this was, I remember, like I actually got to see that. I was like, when I drove by it, I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's definitely, I said to myself, that's definitely not natural. That's definitely not natural. Somebody, somebody, somebody carved that or something, right? Or it's something. Old man of the mountain, man. So that's what he's talking about in the book. So we can have a little reference. You see how it makes a big difference when you understand what they're talking about? This is the Watcher, he's calling. Old man of the mountain. Hey, man hang out their signs indicative of their respective traits. Shoemakers hang gigantic shoes. Jewelers a monster watch. Even the dentist hangs out a gold tooth. But up in Franconia Mountain, God Almighty has hung out a sign to show that in New England, he makes men. You see that? That's deep right there. Wow, he makes men. Not ape men. Wow. All right, back to the book, guys. Back to the book. All right. So the Watcher, right, in which the natives saw the face of the Chi, or the Great Spirit, designated by the shamans as Set or Sitibos. In this extraordinary feature of prehistoric America, whether an accident of nature or the product of human hands, right? That's what we was just looking at. We find a perfect symbol of the philosophic conception upon which the wisdom philosophy was based. Nature, Brahma, as they saw it, was but a reflection of the unimaginable wisdom of Brahma, exposing the occult model as above, so below. Like I just said earlier. Immediately west of Franconia Notch and at 44 degrees north, 105 degrees east in the Black Hills of Dakota, is to be seen the peculiar elevation known to the native as the Sphinx Rock. Listen to this, marking the meridian of Denver. All right, Anaconda, Canyon City, the Sacramento Mountains in New Mexico, and the Durango in Anahuac, Central Mexico. All right, the Sphinx Rock, huh? You know, we got to go look at that. What are they talking about? I think I know what they're talking about. I think I know what they're talking about, man. Let's go. Sphinx Rock, Dakota. Whoops. Come on, you know what I mean. Sphinx Rock, huh? Look at the face. Look at the eyes. Yeah, this is very weathered. This is ancient. This is ancient. It's very weathered. Yeah, I have seen this before. Wow. Wait. Look at guys. It even has the body. Nah. Come on now. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing, man. What? Come on now. You just talking about the true old world. I told you. Come on now. Sphinx Rock. Ah, yeah. Sphinx Rock. So that's in Romania, this one. Okay, so that's another one. So Sphinx Rock, this is this. Okay. Hold on. Grandfather Mountain, Split Rock. Oh wow, look at that. Man, look how this is split. Nah, come on now, guys. Come on now. That's not natural. Oh, is it? Hmm. Oh, there's some stuff here, huh? I don't know what this is. This is Grandfather Mountain, wherever this is. Wow. Sphinx Rock, let's see. Yeah, they're not trying to give it to us. But it might be one of the ones we just looked at. It might be one of the ones we was just looking at. Come on. Sphinx Rock. There's so many. It's not just in so-called Egypt. Wow, look at that one. Sphinx Rock, overlooking Cedar Run, Grand Canyon. Wait, Grand Canyon, PA? That's Pennsylvania? See, there's one. Come on now. There's a Grand Canyon in Pennsylvania. Let me know, guys. I don't know. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. I can be look at stuff like this all day. I'll be like, wow, and create my own conclusions, and then do my own channel on that, like other people. This right here, that's a hippopotamus dragon tooth right here. That's a giant's belly button right there. I don't mean to mess with everybody. I don't mean to. I'm just messing around. They got some good stuff. They got some good stuff on those channels. All right. So we're gonna find which one it is, and I'm gonna do a video on it. Watch. I'm gonna do the one they're talking about right now. So, anyways, he said that Sphinx Rock is the mark for all these places connecting all the way to Mexico. Manifestly, the Colossi of Bamiyan, the Watcher, the Sphinx Rock, and the Colossi of Easter Island all trace to the ancestors of the Eskimo, whose connection with the abyss of learning, Lhasa, and the pot boilers is evident. Indeed, as one looks at the totem poles of the Eskimo, he cannot fail to see the identity between the spread of bars with which many of them are surmounted, the winged scarabs of Egypt, and the Chinese dragons, the Hebraic angels. Yep, we've gone over this, how the Indians have, like, the totems are the same as the Israelite totems. The Hebraic angels, the Avars, and the helm of the Greek and Roman gods, the Greek caduceus, and the helms of the European Boreans of historic times. Plainly, the feathered tiaras of the Egyptian kings, feathered, huh? Feathered tiaras, they had feathers, huh? All right, the Egyptian kings had feathers on, right? The Incas and the North American Sakano all trace back to the philosophic conception expressed by the lunar egg or mother moon. So the Incas had feathered tiaras, just like the ancient kings of Egypt, huh? Who's the real Egyptians? With the Watcher gazing down upon the prehistoric peoples of America, it is likely that by 50,000 BC, the cycle of the builders had begun. Consequently, cultural strata have been uncovered in the sunken cities of Mexico, indicating the Asiatic influences explained in the charts. So again, seeing it in reverse. Remember, seeing it in reverse. When he's saying the ancient connect, yeah, we brought that knowledge to Asia. This is Asia Major. Sinaloa, Sinai, China. The word China is Sina, Sinaloa, Sina. Hmm. So from them, it has been estimated the first city erected at Uxmala was founded 50,000 years ago. You see, look at that, Uxmal. They try to tell us, a modern archaeologist with their carving data, oh, that's just from 200 AD, 500 AD, 2 BC. Like, this is like the farthest they would be trying to go sometimes. This guy, look what he's saying. He got a source for that. He got 22. Let's see what he's saying. 22, the sunken cities of Mexico. Look, William Nivens. Come on now. This is why I'm saying ain't nobody does it like this. Like, we read that book. We got a whole video on Mr. William Nivens' discoveries that inspired James Churchward's the Children of Mu book, where they get Lemuria from. It was from the archaeological discovery. And when he's saying sunken cities, they're not talking about in the ocean. Remember, he dug down 30 feet below the earth and found these cities in Mexico, guys. And they found these artifacts that resemble these things in Asia. The Nakal tablets, they're saying, these mythical tablets, which Churchill got the idea for the whole Naga thing, and serpents and Lemuria. You got to dodge the hijack with his book. William Nivens is the real thing. That's so, man, like, listen, guys, this is what I'm saying. If you are new to my channel, you don't know what you've missed. You don't know what we've gone over. There's so much, I can't even remember everything. There's so much proven. This is the true old world. There's so much for you to say, like, why did they hide this? Why did they hide? Eventually, you got to stop asking and just say, damn, they hit this. And just know that. And this is the true old. Like, we're not just saying that because we're biased, but we are little, but we're just happy that it is. Get it? We're proud of that. because all our lives we grew up thinking everywhere else in the world was older and more majestic, more prestige, more advanced, all that. But it all started here. This is the origin of everything. That's the irony of all this. I literally read that book. It's a great readings too. That was a great book. It was my second version of that video I did with Lemuria, right? It was about maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. All right. We read that exact same book she's quoting. So I'm like, where is she getting these numbers? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember now. She's actually he or she is actually right. Because when they dug down, the geologists confirmed, hey, this is 50,000 years old down here. The geologists know based on what they learn of strata, geographical strata, and how to age things. So if they can't go off their own learning, then nothing's real. Then nothing's real. We can't trust nobody then. What I say is just as important as anybody else then, if we don't believe the scientists themselves, the geologists, where they're finding all these things in the Americas. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys, I don't play with the sources. Like, she's quoting sources we've already read. And that's why I like to read these little books, see what these people are onto something, even though they add their hijack. Continues, says this carries the Sphinx discovered at Uxmala, a Sphinx that is discovered in Mexico, Uxmala, back into the Mycenaean age, concurrent with the 10th Chaldean dynasty of Chisustrus. Oh, so who's the Chaldeans? Who's the bad? That's what I'm saying, guys. Where's all this really happening? All this stuff. They got us looking at the wrong places, thinking the wrong history. But who shall say exactly when the colossal circle of Mycenae was erected just above the Argos? Who's the ancient Mycenaeans? We gone over that too. Ancient Israelites, people, Hebrew people. In the Peloponnesus, ever ascribed to the gigantic Cyclops? This, however, is certain. With a diameter of 80 degrees, this monument not only marks the meridian of Olympus and of Spitzbergen, whence the pre-Aryan Python had come to Olympus, but the latitude of Mount Etna, Ea cross of the Naga, Mount Etna, the Ea cross of the Naga, in whose bowels the mythical Cyclops were supposed to dwell as the minions of Volcano, right? Where's volcanoes from? And that's a deity in Greek, right? And also Sevilla, also its horizontal arm extends from the edge of the Cataclysm, south of Old Merv, to the vanished ridge of Tenerife. On the other hand, the vertical axis extends from the Congo, the Spitzbergen. Consequently, above the lintel of the Lion Gate appear two lions rampant, facing each other, representing the colt of the east and the colt of the west, holding in their paws a column surmounted by the sacred lotus, symbolizing the Hyperborea wherein the Hellenes evolved. Hellenized, that's not a people. It's a following, it's a culture, it's a learning, it's a type of knowledge people had to be made. It comes from Hermetics. We've broken this down too. A Hellenized people. A lot of Israelis became Hellenized, so-called Greek. A circle described with this monument, the center and radius of 40 degrees includes the Gaelic man to whom the cold of the west is to be traced, inasmuch as it also includes Nippur. In all probability, the great cube was erected there by the eponymous Chisustrus soon after the Mycenaean age began. Geodesy also shows the continuing connection at this time between Greece and America. Between what? Between Greece, so-called Greece. What Greece? What Greece? You mean the Americans who you eventually turn into Greeks? Ancient people came out of the true old world, ending up in those other parts of the world. But where was really ancient Greece? Where was really Athens? Where was really Carthage? Like, that's all in question right now. Thus, Sevilla marks not only the latitude of Mycenae, but the meridian of Dublin, Lisbon, and Belfast in Ireland, the North Channel, Judah or Judah, Mule, and Island of the Isle of Skye in Scotland, and Minch, Friesland, and the head of Greenland. From Greenland, the geodetic X leads through the Watcher to Xochicalco. Therefore, the connection between Trujillo in Spain and Trujillo in Anahuac and Peru is complete. All those who have studied the ancient monuments have noted the similarity between the Cyclopean architecture of Grecaland, Cretalan, and Peru. At Tehuanacu or Tiwanaku on Lake Titicaca, where Mama Sinyaku, representing the Arya Maya Naguals of Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Peru, made her capital. Wow. What are you talking about? That's so interesting. Who's Mama Sinyaku? Mama, huh? Mama Sinyaku. She represented the Aryans, the noble Aryan Maya Naguals, the Naga noble Maya of Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Peru. That's where she made her capital. Huh. And at Cusco, also marking the western line of the geodetic X. And elsewhere are to be seen the oldest monuments of Hata, Runa cycle. These include the Temple of the Sun, crowning the grand pyramidal height of Cusco, which makes the Acropolis of Athens sink into the insignificance. All right? When you understand the technology and what is being found in Cusco there, it doesn't compare to that what they got in the Acropolis in Athens in Greece. That one building, they oh look, oh, there's way more than that here. It's insignificant next to what is found in Cusco. Yet it finds its counterpart at Athens. See, it has a duplicate in Athens, in the Lycabeos, ever deemed by the pre-Aryan Greeks who trace their ancestry to Atlas, to the Americas. Atlas, ATL, a natural symbol of their Titan ancestors. Oh, the giants, like the ones they found in the mounds. Like all these gigantic people, they was all over the Americas. The Titans, They traced the pre-Aryan Greeks, so-called Greeks, remember? Like I said, a lot of people became Hellenized or so-called Greeks coming from the true old world. Their Titan ancestors, antediluvian, Noah, Shem, Adam, Enoch, the Titan ancestors. About 30,000 years ago, we are told the modern type of man appeared along with the culture of the Neolithic or New Stone Age, with which the Celts of Europe have ever been associated. With the appearance of the modern type of man, gotta touch the hijack a little. In this book, they go with the different types of man, like theosophical. Oh, and then came this people, and then came this people, and then okay. So modern type of man, right? With the Celts in Europe have ever been associated. With the appearance of the modern type of man, whatever that may mean, like he even saying, whatever that may mean, in fact, began the heliocentric civilization of India, ascribed by the Hindus to the sixth avatar, Rama, which has something to do with the Mayas, Ramayana, in his second aspect of Parashumara. Concurrently, the sun god Helios appeared at Baalbek. Sun god, like Jesus. That means the sun, yeah, same, all the same, guys. In Syria, on the meridian of Antioch, where the Canaanites had enthroned Baal, and to this god the Phoenicians ascribed their cities. Now too, Panchacapac, the ever-widening circle, appeared in Peru. Accordingly, it was said that Manco Capac, the first Inca, was sired by the son out of Mama Sinyaca. Oh, so that's who Mama Sinyaca is, the mother of Manco Capac, the first supposed Inca. It's in that king's list, that drawing that we have of Charles V. He is the first. Manco Capac is the first person. These people are all swarthy, very dark complexion in that painting. The first Inca was sired by the son of Mama Sinyaku, placing his golden wand on the height of Cusco. The Inca proceeded to found in Peru the new Aryan civilization. So who's the Aryans, huh? So they the Aryans, huh? Who's the Incas? Who's the Aztec? Nobles? Hmm. Civilization symbolized by the true cross, formed by the highways extending over the region of Tehuantasaya, finding their intersection at the Temple of the Sun. Now appear the great circles of Lagashi or Tello, just north of Ur in Mesopotamia, marking the latitude of Manasorowa, and also Sais, where a zodiac appeared. Near Ur is a great brick, oval symbolizing the primordial egg, while the oldest monument in Ur, Eredu, Erek, Hila, Tello, and Babylon, all display an advanced astronomical knowledge of eclipses as well as the ellipse. Since Babylon marks the latitude of San Diego, huh? and Texuana, the mouth of the mouth of the Colorado, doubtless now appear the zodiacal pueblos of the Rio Grande. Guys, look at all these connections, especially when you understand the astrological connections. With the appearance of the modern type of man, in parentheses, right, whatever he means by that, we have reached a point, however, where in order to understand the history of America from this time on, it is necessary to look behind two historical blinds. The mysterious dark Pelasgi. The mysterious what? The mysterious what? Dark. The dark complexion Pelasgi, forerunners in Greece of the Celts and ever called seamen, were in fact merely the descendants of the mythical Danaus, the twin brother of Egyptus. Also, they're descendants of Dan. So the Pelasgians were Danites, dark complexion. Danites, huh? Who's the Pelasgians according to Wikipedia mainstream history? The Pelasgians, writers to refer either to the predecessors of the Greeks, these are people before they were called Greeks, right? Or to all inhabitants of Greece before the emergence of the Greeks. The people who were there in this area before they started being labeled Greeks. Pelasgians has come to mean more broadly all indigenous inhabitants of the Aegean Sea. All right? You get what a Pelasgian is now? You see? See, they never told us this. I swear, God. Growing up, they told us, oh, the Pelasgians were a group of people. They were Greeks and they were like this and they were white and they were blah, blah, blah. No, that's just a term. It just means indigenous inhabitants of the Aegean Seas. And when we know a lot of Hebrew people were the indigenous inhabitants of the Aegean Sea, we got the drop, guys. We got the drop. And their cultures, and British historian Peter Green comments on as it a hold of term for any ancient primitive, presumably indigenous people in the Greek world. So an Indian from the Americas would be called a Pelasgian if he was up in that area. You get it? Say less. I get it. You're right. So, dark, dark indigenous people, the dark indigenous people of that area today called Greeks and the Celts and all that area, the British Isles, right? These seafarers, seamen. So where they coming from? So they ended up there, right? Because they came out of nowhere, right? They weren't always there. They're seamen. So where they coming from? Were in fact merely the descendants of the mythical Danaus, the twin brother Egyptus. All these are Israelites. We broke this down. Having migrated from Egypt, from America, having migrated. Oh, also they are indigenous, dark-skinned, indigenous Americans from ancient times. And Arabia, huh? We talking about Arabia, today Arabia. We talking about Joktan's descendants, the pure Arabs. Is that the mixture? Is that what makes them different? Is that indigenous people mixing with Joktan's descendants, Jarub's descendants? So having migrated from Egypt and Arabia to Syria and Iona, they had furnished the ancestors of the biblical Dan in Palestine. Doubtless, already they had founded Baalbek, Tyre, Sidon, Damascus, Miletus, and Troy before founding Thebes and Memphis in Greece. Huh, Thebes in Greece, huh? Memphis in Greece? What do you mean Memphis in Greece? Thought that was in Egypt. Also, they founded the Piraeus at the exact latitude of Miletus in Ionia and of Messina in Sicily. Therefore, the Erechteus, god of Erect, built by them on the Acropolis like the temple of Jupiter, Didymos and Miletus, marks the meridian of Spitzbergen and reflects the same scientific knowledge possessed by the builders of the circles of Telo, the temple of Ishtar at Erect, and the zodiac of Sais on the Nile, all at that same latitude. In short, these Danitics who gave to Gallia the name of Europa, the daughter of Phoenix, listen, these Danites who gave to Gallia the name of Europa, why? Why are they doing that? Yoruba, Europa, Yarub, are they really mixing with these Arabs? The daughter of Phoenix, and conveyed to Attica the mysteries of Eleusis, were none other than the descendants of Ru, who furnished the Arcadians of the Odyssey, huh? There's Arcadians in ancient Greek mythology, right? And we have a place called Arcadia over here. Oh, it's not connected, right? It's not connected. Nah, don't even try to connect it, right? But we know this is a true old world, so there has to be. There has to be. And we know that's near the ancient real Tower of Babel. Shout out to UB News. And it's also very close to the oldest land in the world. Shout out to Agassiz. So in these builders of the labyrinth, in which were the mysteries of the Kabidi, the Caribi, the Kabidi are the Carib people, so dear to the Greek seamen, we see the Ulysses who founded Utica on the exact meridian of Spitzbergen and Denmark, the Mark of Dan, that's what Denmark is named after, Danite and Dan, at the latitude of Karakorum, Nineveh, Antipog, Rhodes, Sicily, and the Pillars of Hercules. Nor does the work ascribed to the eponymous Homer fail to show that the Pelasgi had visited the Azores, where Ulysses was said to have been detained 7 years by the entrancing nymph Calypso. All right, that right there, guys, that right there proves to me they were coming from the Americas. Do you guys understand the Azores are between Europe and the Americas, right? So if they were at the Azores before they got to so-called Greece, where are they coming from? What direction are they coming from? The Pelasgi, however, did not constitute a particular race. Like I was just saying, it's not a specific people, except in the sense of the mixed peoples of the Mediterranean who had adopted the Aryan code. So possibly ancient people coming out of America, mixing with some of these other ancient people coming out of Arabia, North Africa, whoever was there, right? Then you get your so-called Pelasgi. They're all the indigenous people before so-called Rome and Greeks and all these other invaders eventually. They were there first. So we can include Basques to that, Celts, Picts, things like that. Enough has been said. Oh, sorry, I skipped it. Says the Pelasgi, however, did not constitute. Oh, I got that. Enough has been said to show there never was a race of Celts in the blood sense. Body bag for the illusion. That's what I've been, man. That's what we've been breaking down, guys. Who are the so-called Celts? What is a so-called Celt? Oh man. Coined by the scholars who employed the name of a certain type of stone, tools called Celts. That's why they called them that, after the stone tool. But who were the people? And where were they coming from? They weren't originally from there. They have legends. They came from some, get it, from the true old world, from the land, the oldest land. Eventually, land started coming out and people started moving to other parts of the world from the oldest land. There's a center. There's an origin to everything. So common to Northern Asia and Europe, these Celts, right, these stone tools in the early Neolithic age, the name Celt was merely the designation for the peoples who employed these tools, okay? That's what it means. It's not a specific nation. Therefore, they included not alone the blonde, blue-eyed prehistoric Avars. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're blonde and blue-eyed, right? Who said that? Oh, well, he didn't say complexion. I remember the first dark-skinned people, many parts of Europe, were actually blue-eyed. Therefore, they include not only the blue-eyed prehistoric Avars, the Slavs, Slovaks, Slovenes, barbarians, Scandinavians, Helvetians, Venetians, and other peoples. And we got descriptions of all these peoples being described as dark complexion as well. And the ethnological books that we read, right? And anthropological ones. And whose name appeared the symbolic V representing the spiritual Avars of the Arya. There were also the Dark Celts. So now he got to tell a little truth. He got to tell a little truth now, like those of Ligurian Gaul. It wasn't just them, those he's trying to make all these people so-called white, and then these, yeah, a lot of these people are all melanated, different shades. So the Ligurian Gauls, he's saying definitely were black folks, the ancestors of the French and Italians, the Gauls, and the Celtic-bearing ancestors of the Spaniards, as well as the blonde Celts of the East. So even the blonde ones of the East were what? Dark complexion. So when you're saying blonde and blue-eyed, that doesn't necessarily mean so-called white. They were, so listen, we got so many sources, you know, you can't hide the fact there was dark Europeans. Like even if they try to make some of them pale skin, which is still debatable based on research we've done, not because I just want them to be. Nevertheless, it is likely that they originated with the Slavs and Poles who had inherited the serpent cult from their caveman ancestors. The serpent, so that's the hijack. He's calling the Nagas, right? Where they're carrying the knowledge, he's calling it the serpent cult. And their cavemen, and okay, what cave, man? Oh, you mean people had to come out of the cave underground? Is that what you're talking about? Or what caveman? There is a caveman that came out and he didn't look, you know, there is a specific caveman. We're not talking about the serpent people being cavemen, though. At any rate, their philosophy was spread in the Neolithic Age, just as the serpent, Aryan, and tree cults had been. So he's calling all these things cults Aryan cult. What's an Aryan cult? That means noble. By a relative few teachers, exactly in the manner of Christianity and Mohammedanism in later cycles. The distinction between the Turanian Brotherhood of Aryan Uyghurs, the Hindus, and the Aryan Celts was therefore territorial rather than philosophic. Consequently, the Aryanism of the Uyghurs and Hindus centered at the abyss of, hold on, learning and Lhasa, respectively, while that of the Celts traced to the Olympi, where Apollo has succeeded the Indo-European Python. Because the Celtic Apollo, the god of light and wisdom, was an evolution from the Atlantean Hermes Trismegistus, the three circles of the Celts were zodiacs corresponding exactly to the older cromlechs of Python. Now going back to that image they had here, guys, I just want to show you something. They got like this big map here, right? Showing you the connections he was making with the meridian lines. So it says American history in terms of archaeology and geodesy, right? And he's showing how these the mounds and different sites, ancient sites, are connected to these meridians and connect to other places of the world and how they connect to each other. So you see this one right here from Bogota to Quito to Iceland, right? That goes all the way to Iceland. The Galapagos Islands here and Quito connecting and so on and so on. Okay, you see that? Bermudas, Cape Bosnia up here in the north, and then look, Cape Farewell, Greenland. See how they all connect? This is what he was talking about earlier. That's what they were talking about, right? You see? And we already knew that, if you guys understand, like they built certain sites, these ancient people, on meridian lines, on energy points, you know, and they were harnessing the energy most likely too. Now, continuing, it says here, So we're gonna read something. He's quoting. It says, "To those brought up in the pedagogic tradition of 40 or more years ago, when navigation of the high seas was supposed to have started with the Phoenicians. Phoenicians just mean seafarer, right? I did a video the other day, guys, about the stone fears about Costa Rica. If you haven't watched it, please watch that video when you want to learn about who the true ancient navigators, where there was a university where people were coming to learn navigation. And not just that, we got so many on navigation from even North America as well, going that way, all over the place, Pacific side. But there seems to have been a center in Central America of navigation. It's always been like a canal where people come and cross from one side to the other. Even in ancient times, it didn't just start when they built the Panama Canal. There was already a canal between Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and it shows it in old Spanish maps. And they talk about being able to go through it. And if something happened, maybe a volcanic eruption or something, and changed the land a little bit. But what separates Costa Rica from Nicaragua is a river called San Juan, and then some other parts. And so that used to connect all the way, to the Lake Titicaca, Nicaragua, and go out into the ocean. All right. I mean, not Titicaca, the big lake in Nicaragua, not the Titicaca one. That's in Bolivia. But there's a huge lake in Nicaragua who has volcano, and that used to actually connect to the border river between us and go all the way into the Atlantic. So, continuing. To believe that man swarmed over at least 3 of the oceans, the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific during remote periods. In fact, about the only group of scholars to whom that type of thinking appears to be natural or ingrained is the archaeologists, particularly those who devote themselves to the late Stone and various Bronze Ages. He then goes on to show that Hecken, professor of archaeology at Harvard, takes it in his stride to consider reasonable and probable that men of the Bronze Age used to do what we now call great circle sailing between Spain and Ireland and between northwestern Spain and southern England. Next, he adverts to the storm of protests evoked by the great Norwegian archaeologist Brogger when at an international congress at archaeologists at Oslo. In 1936, he lectured as president of the Congress about a golden age of deep sea navigation. This is what I'm talking about just now. And the center was right here in the Americas, guys. Go check out that video I did the other day about the stone fears of Costa Rica. Go check it out. Which he thought may have been at its height as much as 3,000 years before Christ, and which in his view was on the decline after 1500 BC. To this, Stephenson adds, the very period we used to select as the beginning of real seamanship, the Phoenicians is shown as having been by that theory at the bottom of a curve, which thereafter rose slowly until it attained a new high in the navigational cycle of the Viking Age, which started less than 1500 years ago. That man of the old world discovered the Americas, that's the hijack, seen in reverse, we are the old world. From Brazil to Greenland during Brogger's golden age of navigation 5,000 years ago, and perhaps earlier, rests merely on possibilities and probabilities, all right? Again, seen in reverse, and yes, it did happen. We went out from here to discover the rest, populate, right? Civilize the rest of the world. As yet, we cannot prove it certain, though we can prove it likely. In conclusion, he says, but nobody can prove it did not happen. So, that there was an ancient connection, navigational between both all these, yes, that part, that's what he's trying to show. Because remember, there ain't supposed to be no people here in the Americas before a certain time period, like 13, 14, 15,000 years ago. Remember, this is the fake story they tell us, right? So there ain't supposed to be no ancient people here 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, whatever, So they're trying to explain, well, no, people navigated at that time and came here. No, well, you're seeing in reverse. That's what I'm telling you guys. That's what we've proven. They can't prove it didn't happen, they can't prove this ain't the old world, but we could prove it is. There is not merely the well-known difficulty in proving the negative. We can really cite nothing much against the proposal beyond reluctance born of traditional thinking, the hijacks, the gatekeeping. That is, however, a difficulty only to those of us whose school days were passed among the historical writings that gave no weight to archaeology, or none that was deemed from other than Mediterranean countries. Ooh. During the last 20 or 30 years, the archaeology of northwestern Europe has been crowding its way toward the attention of historians, and more recently, the Americas. So this was written in the 1940s, guys, right? They weren't researching anything in the Americas, even in the what he's saying, that part of Europe, Western Europe. They weren't. Nobody was really paying attention to the Americas. Everybody's talking about so-called Babylon, Mesopotamia, like the fake ones, fake history they're teaching. Nobody was paying attention to the Americas and Pacific Islands. They're beginning to have their day. Perhaps it will be as congenial to the next generation as it has been uncongenial till recently to assume that there probably were a great many crossings of every ocean and a great many discoveries of nearly or quite every land before the earliest that can be found in the histories. Of course, that's what we're talking about. That's what we mean, which depends solely on books, on monuments with written inscriptions, and on the dependable tradition. He's saying you can't get all the truth on books, right? There's not it's not going to be a book you find from 50,000 years ago saying, yeah, we navigated from America. You're not going to probably find that, or it written in scrolls or on the walls. You're not always going to get all the ancient history. That doesn't mean it didn't exist. It is only necessary to add to these observations that the likely proof of which Stephenson refers is found in the charts which altogether with the elder Ada afford the solution of many old mysteries. Although in 30,000 BC, when the Uyghurs were overrunning China, Japan, Malaysia, Siberia, Russia, and Europe, the Celts had not become a serious factor in the history of civilization. The Red Nagas, the what? The Red Nagas, the red man copper-colored Nagas had furnished the original populations of Siberia. I told you. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. You know, oh, the Mongol this and the site. I'm like, you guys, that's modern. That's modern day. It's like all these ancient people were somebody else in these areas, guys. And he's saying right here, they were the Red Nagas too. And China too, the Red Nagas. Japan, Red Nagas. India, the Red Nagas. In Burma, the Red Nagas. Malaysia, and who's the Nagas? Where they coming from, huh? So-called red man, so-called couple-colored tribes of America. Some of them had found a refuge in the Himalaya during the biblical deluge. Undoubtedly, some of these people had expanded into Mongolia, whence they took place the last migration of the red race to America. That's the hijack, seen it in reverse, seen it in reverse. So even though he's saying, hey, it's the same people that became the red race, see, he's saying these red knuckles are the same people that became the red race of America, even though they're seen in reverse, which is supposed to have occurred before the last glacial advance by way of Kamchatka and Alaska. That's the hijack with that Bering Strait Clovers theory thing. Although predicated upon the false hypothesis that too much had happened in the Western Hemisphere to make a later date for its repopulation tenable, which ignored utterly the fact America had long been inhabited. The conclusion necessarily is correct. The Maya glyphs of Yucatan and Anahuac show that as the signs of an impending cataclysm appeared, the peoples inhabiting the lands in the west, including the land of Mu and the land of Kui, or the land of the gods, implying the terrestrial zodiac in China's received warning from the priesthood represented by Ramu of the impending event. Thereupon, so he's going off, look, 47, he's going off the Popol Vuh, look at it, the Popol Vuh and Jimenez version, the manuscript, look what he's going off. And the source before that, 46, the Red Man's Continent, Huntington from 1910. So what he's saying is based on what he interpreted, what he's reading in his research, right? At least we have something where we can verify. All right, let me go read that. That's the kind of things I do on the side, guys. I be reading all these things like to see why he's saying that, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get what he's saying that. If this guy's saying that, so where did Huntington get his info from? Where did the Popol Vuh get their info from, huh? Oh, now that's a whole different thing, huh? Thereupon, as shown by inscriptions in the ancient temples that were subsequently reared by the Mayaks and Quiches, as memorials to the vanished realms, including the temple crowning the summit of Xochicalco. Many sought security by flight to the colonies in America and elsewhere. Listen to what they're saying. A lot of these ancient Mexican people ended up where? The colonies of America or elsewhere in the world. Elsewhere in the world. 48, the children of Mu. Oh, see? Man. But we know that that goes back to William Nevins. You know, Churchill's just making stuff up in that book. Go read it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Go watch my video so you can see me pointing out what I'm talking about. Today, we know that by the cataclysm described in these glyphs, which occurred about 10,000 BC, it seems something really happened around this time, right? Alaska was more widely separated from Kamchatka by the Bering Strait that was now widened from about 3 to 60 miles by submergence in the region. Now came into being the Aleutian Islands. Concurrently, the Japanese archipelago as well as the Hawaiian Islands were brought to their present form. You see, all that was the land bridge. All that was more connected to the Americas. This is what I'm saying, guys. Like, it was all connected. That's why animals were going over there and populating those lands in reverse. All these mammals, all these horses, camels, all that stuff. Elephants, ancestors of elephants, all that. Carnivores, all that. Now came into being concurrently okay, we got that, Hawaiian, yep. Also the lost continent of Mu. This is your lost continent. All that land that went down, it became like a legend, right? But it was connected to the Americas. I've been trying to tell you guys. Was shattered into the present fragmentary relics constituting the islands of Polynesia. Now too, the Gobi was cleared of its waters, which spewing southward and submerging China left Karakorum and other cities in the Gobi buried by the silt along with countless so-called dune men. Laurentia, there you go, Laurentia. Yep, the Laurent. Migrations, of course, take place according to certain laws, dictated either by the compulsion of climate, the hostility of neighbors, or the desire to better the collective lot. They follow the lines of least resistance. Therefore, it is contrary to reason to believe that a migration would have taken place either during or after the appalling submergence, says described. Furthermore, this migration did not take place all at once, but as well shown, occurred in widely separated waves, each consisting of small swarms. Finally, the linguistic map of America shows the distribution of 7 linguistic families, together including about 70 tribes which have been identified by the ethnologists, who assign to them the characteristic names here given and suggest certain conclusions with respect to the civilization that had developed in North America when the migration began. All right. Footnote 50, it says Hypnosis of the Indian Tribes, Galitan, 1830. Wow. See, I haven't even read that book. We got to find these books. This is what I'm saying. We got to find it and read it ourselves. See what else is in there that the author's not mentioning. And then also he used the Linguistic Families of America and North of Mexico from 1891. Wow. We got to get into that, all that stuff, you see? It says here, 1. Whoa. The Algonquins, Atlantic coast, eastern and central Canada, and the middle western states. 2. Siouans, until historic times, Ontario and the Appalachians. All right. Siouans. Muskogeans, Gulf states. The Caddo, mid-continent. The Shoshoneans, Rockies from Idaho and Wyoming to the Rio Grande. The Atapascans, Alaska, British Columbia, Assiniboia, Pacific Coast, Arizona, New Mexico. Iroquoians, northern New York with offspring in Pennsylvania. I would say the Lenape, right? Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. Language is a matter of slow evolution. Moreover, contrary to common ideas, the Indian languages were in no sense mere jargon, but were rich and full. In addition to this, we know that the Algonquins, who originated in the region of Newfoundland, eventually came to occupy Manitoba, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and that the Lenape, right? Look, Lenape were crowded to the Atlantic seaboard by the Siouans. They're not the same people who at some remote age migrated southward into the Appalachians. These are your Eastern Siouan people. They started in Ohio, guys. The origin of these Eastern Siouan tribes, the Catawba, the Rapahan, the Wakama, the Saponi, the Monacans, the Watery, the Sugary, the Sara people, all these originated in Ohio. They're people originated in Ohio, and they came down at some point in ancient times. Like, they've been in the eastern seaboard for a long, long time, guys. They happened anciently, that migration. So, as it's saying here, agreeing with what we already know, these Siouans who at some remote age migrated southward into the Appalachians from the region of Ontario, it is equally plain that the Shoshone, a relatively crude, look, dark people, they want to say, Shoshone, a relatively crude, dark people, doubtless with much Negroid blood, body bag for the illusion. Body bag, body bag, body bag for the illusion. Body bag for the illusion. Shout out to Drop, man. We can't make this up, guys. Are you here? Who's here? Let me see. We got 137 people. You're here to witness this. Why is he saying that? He must have known. He must see the pictures we found. I showed you the Shoshone people from the 1800s. They're very dark, so-called black. So the Shoshone are relatively crude, dark people, doubtless with much Negroid blood. All right, these are Indians. Their veins pushed up from the Rio Grande, came up from the Rio Grande, coming from near Mexico, along the Rockies, as far north as Idaho and Wyoming, and that the Caddo also moved up into the region between the Rockies and the Mississippi, forcing the last of the forcing what? The last of the semi-Negroid Muskogee. How did they become semi-Negroid? What do you mean by that? Listen to what they're admitting here, guys. Along the Red River, we're talking about ancient people here. We're talking about ancient people. We're not talking about anybody mixing with African slaves yet. We're not even at that time period. We're talking about before Europeans. What do you mean semi-Negro? You mean he's just a little lighter? He's not so dark? Like, what are you talking about, man? Semi-Negro Muskogee. Along the Red River and into the Gulf states. Are you Muskogee people? Semi-Negroid, huh? In the domains occupied by the tribes constituting these families, also striking evidence is found since the system of land tenure was common to the 70 groups speaking different dialects who occupied them. They all conceived of the title to the tribal domain, residing in the members collectively and as inheritance from the Great Spirit, not subject to individual possession and alienation. This cannot be explained merely by the ascribing it to the psychology of the red race. In truth, it owed no more to psychology than the common land and the civil law of Europeans. Manifestly, it traces to the common teaching of the Chichens. Like the Isles said in Genesis 10, to have been set apart by Japhet to the Gentiles. The Indian domains were designed not only to stabilize the nomadic groups which occupied North America upon the recession of the ice cap at the beginning of the Neolithic Age, but to end conflicts between them by giving them the permanent domains in which alone agriculture could be instituted. Still occupying Alaska, British Columbia, and the Pacific coast, the Atapasca, with more yellow blood, so-called yellow, in their veins, mulatto looking, what yellow? Yeah, in their veins than any other family, clearly indicating relatively recent migration from Mongolia, spread southward along the Pacific coast in California once they threw out the Navajo and Apache. Okay, now see this kind of makes sense. These are the enemies, right? They threw out in Arizona, yet they did not press east of Saskatchewan and Assiniboia, nor into the Rockies south of British Columbia. This suggests that already the Algonquins and Shoshone were in place when the last migrants from Asia arrived. So, okay, this is all based on his theory that all these people coming from Asia, right? So we got to dodge the hijacking a lot of this. Okay. and that the Pacific coast offered the line of least resistance. In addition to all this, we know that the post-cataclysmic civilizations of Celtic Europe and India did not begin until 5000 BC, which indicates the time when the third glacial advance came to an end. Between that date and 1000 AD, when the Norsemen found the American natives engaged in a crude agriculture, there was not time for the 7 linguistic families to evolve. Therefore, the conclusion seems justified that the 7 families had been assigned to their domains in some interglacial period preceding the cataclysm. He's saying these people were already there, guys. Listen, they didn't spread there after the. He's saying they were already there. So if they were already there during the cataclysm, did they go underground? Did they go inside caves underground? Did they go inside mountains? And that's where we get all our stories from, coming out the ground. It seems equally reasonable to assume that the recurrent warnings of this calamitous event induced the successive waves constituting the last migration prior to the disturbances which halted it. Let it not be imagined, however, that the fear of the Spanish prelates that their murderous flocks would discover the American natives had been familiar with the principles of the true cross ages. All right? The true cross ages before the founding of Christendom was the only thing that contributed to the concealment of American history. They hid this history, concealed it. While the ordinary native was just as ignorant of the history of man as the masses of people are today. In every tribe, there was a secret society through which the members were initiated into the lower degrees of the mysteries, just as among the prehistoric peoples of Europe. Thus, the initiates correspond to the Druids or wise men among the Celts. And I say, who are these pre-Celts? Who are these so-called Chaldeans, so-called Druids in Ireland? Where do they come from? Because they're not a people. Celts is not a people. Because they try to say, oh, Druids are Celts. Well, Celts is not a people. So who's the Druids and who's the Celts? If they're just like the ones in ancient America, just like, look, they had secret societies, all that. We know that, right? We know based on their books that if you want to attribute Freemasonry to anybody, it's to ancient America. Well, we got the drop from their horse's mouth themselves. Because the Indian initiates were pledged to secrecy, they would only refer to the builders of the mounds and monuments as the ghost people or those people, and even torture failed to make them talk. From this, Europeans gained the idea that even the shamans, spiritual men, and sakims, wise teachers, knew nothing of the past. Also, when the Indians told the curious that their souls could only reach heaven by the limbs of their sacred trees, this was taken literally. In view of what has been said, it is useless, however, to imagine that the sakims retained no memory of their motherland. Of course they did. It's in their oral traditions, in their so-called stories, right? In Oregon were found the Atapascan Hagjaiwal, who obviously were the kinsmen of the peculiar red yellow haka, copper-colored yellow haka, still inhabiting the mountains of China, the serpent teacher, the Naga teacher, The tumuli in the Gobi, to which their ancestors have been traced, lie within the eastern reaches of the Tian Shan, or Celestial Mountains, of which the name was preserved by the Tsenchan of British Columbia. They carry it, okay, now see guys, now there's a place in China called Tianshan, but there's an actual people in British Columbia, America called Tsenchan. Literally, that's where, come on now, guys. So, I bet you they're seeing this in reverse. They went out to China. They brought that Asian kind of look, right? These are melanated people. And they named the place after themselves. Tianshan, Tianshan. That's usually the usual order, right? When you get a name of somebody, that person has to exist first. Of which the name was preserved by the Tianshan. I mean, they preserved it in the name over there. They seen in reverse in the location. Whose mysteries, like those of the neighboring Bella Kula and Kwakilt, were similar to those of the Yamabushi and Samurai. And Samurai in Sipangu. Since Sipangu is part of America, man. You mean, wait a minute. What's the origin of Samurai? Hold up. The hermits of Tibet and the Jogi of India. and the Jogi of India. Who's the Nagas? I already know this. When the Europeans began to arrive in 1492, almost within the lifetime of living Indians, there had been wholesale massacres of earlier colonists during several successive native uprisings. Common sense therefore dictated silence on the part of the red race in respect to the past. Indeed, so you're calling us the red race, but when you say red Naga, you're trying to separate it. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed, it was only when the Cataclysm marked the end of the Great Deluge that the last of the gigantic Atlanteans, who's the Atlanteans? Ancient Americans, who they finding buried in the mounds, all these giants, 7-footers, 8-footers, 9-footers, 10-footers. When the last of the gigantic Atlanteans, the so-called titans of the Greeks, whose remains many classical scholars, including Pausanias, claim to have seen. Oh, we saw not only Pausanias, but everybody in the Americas, they reported on it. Oh, they saw their remains, and the Smithsonian hit them, right? They vanished from Earth, huh? Where you getting that from, man? 57. Look at this, the passing of the great race. Wow, we gotta definitely get into that book. Oh, come on now. They're talking about the giants. Oh, that's gonna be, that's going in my Giants series, guys. You see, this is why it's good. Sometimes not ignoring these type of books that I'm reading right now, like this one, because even though it has a lot of hijack, it may contain a lot of sources. It may have some drop that you can follow up on. All right. Oh, we're gonna follow up on this. I've been like literally ignoring all these sources in the previous chapters. Like I gotta go through. Eventually, guys, when I run out of books, and I bet you I never will. I have inside these books, I have numerous other books I gotta follow up on that I haven't even started doing. I mean, I have. That's how I keep getting new and newer and newer videos as the years go. But I got so many more to go, guys. Is what I'm trying to tell you. So many more to go. Just as the cities of the Sinitics in Mongolia and China were destroyed, and Karakorum was buried in the Gobi at this time, so was Old Murph. Hey, Poison Ivy. Um, okay. I mean, I'm glad you say. I just happened to look at the chat and read that. I'm glad you said you think. So at least you're. I don't know why you think there was only giants in Africa. Like we are, like this is the oldest land. This is the biblical lands. I've been trying to tell you if you've been watching, because I think I recognize your name. You've been here. You've done some of the videos. This is the true old world. And where are they finding all the giant bones that I've shown in the reports? Where's all those reports in Africa? Why are you putting things over there when you have no research on that? Why? Like, why do you just want to, like, why do I'm just trying not you pick on you, but pick on people, on everybody who does that? Like, why do we conjecture so much when there's other research I'm literally showing you in the last 8 years? Like, I know you're new and you're learning, you and everybody else that's here new. So why conjecture though? Why are you conjecturing? Why are you still choosing that? Why? Where did that random thought come from? We gotta break out of that out of Africa stuff, guys. There was no, that was all underwater. This is the oldest land. I'm trying to explain to you. This is the oldest land. Continents weren't the same back then. And this is the land of the Titans. We got so many videos on it. We talking about land of giants, America, not just giants, people, but animals. Animals, so-called dinosaurs. Okay, okay, that's fine, Poison Ivy. Don't take it. Listen, don't take it hard. I'm just trying to point something out that maybe you don't think about, maybe others don't think about. Like, why do we conjecture? So why are we adding that though? Where are you getting that random thought from? That's indoctrination that we don't know. We don't know we actually act out. Sometimes we just think we say things without thinking. We are indoctrinated. That's what indoctrination means. Like we just run to the first thing we think we know. Like I don't know. I'm not even this book is not even mentioned in Africa. Why is that in your thought right now? Is what I'm trying to say. You know? And I know you're just asking a question, but answer it yourself. You have no research on that. So let me not conjecture. Let me look at what I can prove. Let me see what he has shown. When he said, oh, he said he has a giant video. He says he has a giant playlist. Let me go look at that giant playlist. There's numerous videos. Let me see what he's talking about exists when it comes to evidence of giants in the world, right? Not just mythology or biblical stories. Like I'm talking about evidence, like and all, even the mythology included, right? So, all right. So here I was just talking to everybody, guys. Let's just practice that. Practice not conjecturing someone. If you do conjecture, try to prove that to yourself. Just as the cities of the Senetics in Mongolian China were destroyed and Karakorum was buried in the Gobi at this time, so was Old Murph. Buried in the desert of Karakum. When the waters of these parts were swept into Iranian and Armenia, inevitably Mesopotamia, like China, would have been buried in the mud, from which only a few of the pre-cataclysmic ruins have been uncovered. No, because it wasn't all there. That's not the true old world. That's why you haven't found all the ones actual important sites that they mention in these old accounts, like, oh, the Temple of Belus or the Temple of this. They haven't found none of that stuff. They didn't find none of that stuff in those areas. That's why. So he's conjecturing right now, saying, "Oh, maybe they got buried by this pre." That's not the old world. No, you're not throwing me off. It's all good. It's all good. Like I like questions. I just want to help you. And maybe I came out the wrong way, or I'm just trying to. Maybe I sound like a bully. I'm not trying to be that. I'm not trying to sound like that. I'm trying to help you understand something. We gotta dodge our own hijacks sometimes. We gotta catch ourselves. You know, all of us, including me. That's how I got good at this, including me, including me. I include myself in all that. I'm learning. We're all learning together. Some of us just took it more serious earlier than others and have a more of a passion for it than others. But we all learning. We're all learning. Inevitably, too, when the great empire of the Uyghurs was destroyed by the inundations in the north, attending the last glacial advance, a human deluge of now he's going with crayon colors. Now we gotta see what I'm saying. We gotta dodge the eyes of white and yellow peoples poured down of the Iranian China into Indian upon the red Nagas and the dark Sudeens or Tamils of Dravidia. So he's calling the Aryans. He's still going with the whole Aryan thing being white people, right? Aryans doesn't mean white. That could have been other melanated folks too invading the darker Nagas or whatever people you're calling dark. Dark Sudeens. At least he's saying, letting you know. It's funny how he calls them the red Nagas, though, right? Literally told you from the beginning of this book, the connection to the Maya, these Nagas, but he's still trying to say they came from the other side into here. That makes no sense. These people contradict themselves because they're still stuck on they don't catch themselves. That's what I was just explaining. They don't catch themselves. They contradict themselves. They say, hey, but you just said we have people here 50,000 years old, so who are they? And you're calling us the red race, but then you're calling them the red Nagas, but they're not related. Like, who's the actual red race if you call them red Nagas? Who's the Nagas? The ancient Maya. So he's saying these people invaded the darker skinned people in India, these Aryans, and then the old civilization. At the same time, an immense migration from Mesopotamia and Arabia to Egypt took place, which, in the opinion of one who pointed out the part of God in history, could not have occurred later than BC 9,850. Now, it was that the Kash, who had furnished the so-called white ancestors of the Hittites. Come on now. Who says the Hittites were white? Come on now. See, remember, these are supposed to be all the European and Saxon people and all the people he calling Mongol, and he's considering all these people white, right? That's the hijack. Remember, there's parts in here we got to dodge a lot of hijack. So they arrived in the region above the Delta. Now two Mayas from India probably settled at Mayo on the Red Sea near the present Suakin, while others may have arrived in Lower Egypt from America. Lower Egypt is America. What you talking about? And yeah, there is a place in Egypt called Mayo, which we have already read and related that was the Maya who brought that over there. Who told us that? Or who we read that from first? Or we got that idea from? Augustus Leplejon in the book Queen of Mu. Oh yeah, I remember. because great areas of the Earth's crust in the Pacific now collapse into the underlying gas pockets, leaving only the present fragments of the lost continent of Mu. And the waters rush into these abysses. The Andean plateau, upon which remain the colossal ruins of the vanished Haton Runa, came to possess a relatively higher level above the sea. So, guys, see, they're always saying the same thing about, Lake Titicaca and Tiwanaku, how it seems that was at sea level once and that got raised up. And that's very, very, very ancient. That piece of land got raised up. It's now that's the highest lake in the world, guys. And most people that talk about this, they tell you, yeah, this was elevated. Look how they're telling you. They're saying it happened in this cataclysm, right? But those ruins was what I'm trying to say is they might be there since that old, guys, since that cataclysm. That's why they're all tumbled now and everything. Still may be seen on the fragmentary islands of Oceania, the relics of the Great Stone Highway. Wow, that once spread over the lost continent of Mu. Wow. That's 60. That's in the Easter Island tablets dealing with Turaki. It is said that the great gray spider would have woven his web over the whole earth had it not been for the cold. Wow. So that web must be the roads that connected. Wow. So Easter Island tablets. What else that? What Easter Island tablets? We got so much to dig on, guys. We got so much to dig on still. At the same time, Brazil, again, was converted into veritable morass, of which the present green hell is the product. You mean the Amazon. Therefore, in South America, countless small groups came into being as a result of this new churning. And of the Negroids, only the present Setebos of Patagonia and the Musos of Colombia, who clung to the emerald mines of Musos, had retained their identity when the last of the Atlanteans disappeared. That's a body bag for the illusion right there. What are you trying to say? You're literally saying the Atlanteans were, you're literally saying that the Negroes that are left over are the remnants of the Atlanteans that disappeared. Literally, read that and tell me you don't interpret that from that. And of the Negroids, only the present Setebos of Patagonia and Musos of Colombia, who clung to the emerald mines of Musos, had retained their identity when the last of the Atlanteans disappeared. Come on now. Come on now. Nevertheless, many groups retain the tradition of how their ancestors found a refuge in the great gold and silver bearing Andean plateau, still called the Puna Barren, a name similar to the Puna of India, whence the Maya Nacals had come from the antipodes in the dim ages of the past. In the northern climes, of course, again, savagery reigned supreme, just as in the winter of the flood and in the winter of the wolf. Yeah, and then we're talking about the emerald places right there in that part of Colombia and Ecuador. That's literally today. That's all like mostly black folks, guys, so-called black people, right? Whatever they are, indigenous or black European, right, or black Asians, right? Like not necessarily Africans, but that whole area, yeah. So the emerald tablets, maybe, man, never know, man. That's where they get in it. Emerald tablets is supposed to be Hebrew Phoenician inscriptions on that. This is the true world. We know this is the biblical lands that is very close to Cusco, city of David. So maybe. So in the northern climes, of course, against Sarah Yoga, we read that says, with this picture in mind of how the great deluge ended, the reader may well inquire where any such romance is to be found in fiction, as in the so-called martyrdom of man. Yet no less thrilling are the subsequent events in the history of ancient America. All right, here's another image. So here, plate C. You guys see that's like all the sites here and some more sites. Look how these are lined. Cusco, La Paz, Bruque, Asunción. Wow. It says here, genomic projection prepared by J.C. Wise in the Hydrographic Bureau, Navy Department, showing the geodetic relations between the prehistoric shrines of the Western Hemisphere and the civilizations of Asia, Polynesia, and Europe, denying that the peoples of the old and new worlds knew nothing of each other. This is proof that they knew of each other. This is proof that we went over. This is proof. Not that they came over here and taught us this stuff and then they disappeared. No, we still here. We brought that knowledge out. So this is proof You can't deny that the peoples of the so-called old, us over here, and the people in the new world, the people on the other side of the world, knew nothing of each other before the voyage of Leif Erikson in 1000 AD. You mean Leif Erikson, right? Isn't his predecessor, isn't his ancestor the Red, Eric the Red? The Red Man? The Red, huh? Like a red naga? Like a red man, like a copper colored? Oh, you mean Leif Erikson was just coming back to his ancestral mythical land of his ancestors from Eric the Red. The Red. You've seen it in reverse this whole time. From this projection, it is obvious the major cities of South America were sited with respect to present geodetic system, and that the latter was common to both hemispheres when the oldest mounds and monuments in America were erected. Note the geodetic X-Chi or Chi, formed by the lines from Cape Farewell leading in prolonged from Xochicalco in Mexico to Tahiti, and from Cachamca to Porto Alegre on the coast of Brazil, has the grand cone of Xochicalco at the intersection. Also note that Trujillo and Veracruz were parts of the ancient realm of Anahuac, now called Mexico. All right, let me see if there's more to this image. Okay, it might be on the next page, probably. Oh, we done. Oh, man. You mean we done, man? You got chapter 8. What's coming up in chapter 8, man? There's a lot of drop, it seems, there. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, he's done, man. I thought it was a little longer, too. But, we've been here 2 hours. Actually, we can't make the videos too long, guys. We can't make the videos, but it was perfect time. It was a perfect time to absorb all the info, stop right here, and get ready for the next chapter, right? Hold on. What's going on? I just gotta, my thing is acting up right now. Hold on. I just want to show again the book we were reading in case somebody got here late. Again, this was the book America, the background of Columbus, being a survey of the revelations of science with respect to the Western Hemisphere and its peoples before its unveiling by Columbus, by Jennings C. Wise, who is from the Virginia Academy of Science, American Association for the Advancement of Science, okay? We're not just talking about anybody who just decided to write a book, He's actually does go through a lot of very historical scholarly sources to conclude his theories, right? So some of his theories we got to dodge because his personal opinions based on what he thinks is real, right? Based on what he's reading too. But that's the book. That was chapter 7. Yeah, chapter 7 of this book. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. I definitely enjoyed the reading. I'm glad I read it with you guys live. So it's a better interaction than just pre-recording. Because when I'm recording, I don't stop. I just keep reading and reading. And I'm not like, hey guys, look, I'm not showing you things. I'm not trying to take my time. But yeah, this book is on my Patreon. I shared it already on my Patreon page. I shared most of my books on my Patreon page, guys. Yeah, shout out to Jennings. Shout out to Jennings for the drop. If you're still alive, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you or any of your ancestors, descendants, thank you for the contribution. And we're trying to make sure this research doesn't go in vain or to waste. We're bringing it back, and we agree with a lot of the things in the book. America is the true old world. This book actually proves, but we already know that America is the true old world. Literally, we always prove that. Yeah. So let me see what do I got here. Where you at? I thought I had I could have shown I had hold on. Yep. If you missed the just before I go, if you missed the again previous readings of this book, previous chapters, I have the whole playlist already created in order, adding today's here in the bottom. Okay. A lot of good drop so far, that we can discern and pick out. Hey, you like this one, Poison Ivy? You like this one? There was some pretty awesome books we read kind of similar to this. They get a little deeper, and I have playlists on those too. Like, you guys should definitely check those out. Let me see if I can just point one out So we got the history of America before Columbus book read. Oh, Sacred Mysteries Among the Maya, right? We got the whole book read. Researches into the lost history of America. This one right here, definitely I recommend. That's a whole other book with so much drop. Very similar kind of, but a lot. It gets a little deeper, you know. Actually, pretty deep, pretty much the same, you know. But you're gonna see how they relate. You're gonna see how these researchers relate when people start actually, you know, you know, reading things and concluding and with correct history. Secret Cities of Ancient South America, the whole book. Shadow of Atlantis, the whole book we read. Oh man, there's so many. I got so many. This is the other one I was saying, the Kings of Rhoda, ancient Roman colony. What I was saying about Arizona and Rhodesia. That's a whole other
Imagina
place.
que puedes crear una...
Hold on, my fault. That's a whole other places we got. Where'd it go? All right, right here. All right, we're gonna get back into this book we've been reading. Like we haven't even stopped reading this book. It's so long. The Kings of Rhoda, Tucson, Arizona, Roman Hebrews, and ancient America. All right. So that's why when he's related roads to this part of the world right here in the meridian, I'm like, wait, this is Rhoda. This is Rhoda. This is Rhoda. Okay. So a lot of good playlists, guys. Mysteries of Ancient South America is a whole other book we read. Yeah, a lot of good ones. And we're still reading a lot, many. We're still reading a lot that we're still going through and we're creating playlists on and all that. So make sure to check those out. No, just look, guys. You can't just expect links. You guys gotta make an effort. This is the other thing I'm gonna go on about. You guys gotta try to make the effort. Look, if not, you're never gonna go back to any of these playlists. If you're just expecting people to pass you a link, guys, it's very easy. You go to my main page, right? Where you see home, you see videos. So these are the ones I upload regularly, the ones that are not live, right? And then you got my shorts, right? And then you got my live videos, like the one I did yesterday and I'm doing right now. These are my live videos, right? And then you got podcasts, then you got playlists. There's a playlist tab. All my playlists are here, guys. Go through the playlist. That's why I did the effort to create these and put it in order for you and organize it for you and certain topics going together. Make the effort, guys. Go through the page. Make the effort, just like you're going through Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're going through, just random posts. Go through my page. Check out what I have. Look at this arsenal. America's a true world. Ain't no doubt about it for us who's been here in the journey the last 8 years. The playlists are here too, ready for you. All you gotta do is click on whichever one you want to start binging watching. Okay? It might be easier. It might be even better to watch them in order like this instead of waiting like 2 or 3 months for me to read each chapter. Because then we gotta go refresh or what did he say in the last chapter? Now we gotta, you know. I'm just saying. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Hey, thank you for your donation. Anybody who donated today, thank you, Alex. Let me see who else. Thank you. Anybody became a member or anything like that, in case I missed it. Thank you for my moderators helping me out today. Thank you for all my longtime followers, all my Patreon supporters. Thank you. All my channel members. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right. We're definitely going out now with the dismount. We're going with the dismount. And for the dismount, we're gonna go out with instrumental from Rob and Dre Beats. Shout out to my boy Rob for sharing the beat. Shout out to all the music producers that share music with me. This one is from Rob and Dre Beats. It's called In Tune. Because why? Because we're in tune now. We in tune with the truth. So it goes with I didn't know. Actually, that I didn't plan to say that. I didn't plan to say that. It just happened. Like, yeah, it's actually called In Tune because we're in tune now. I hope you're in tune. I hope you're in the right frequency. All right. I appreciate you guys sticking around all the way to the end of the reading. Thank you for all the real supporters, guys. Help me get my views. Help me share this video because I'm being shadow banned. They're really not. I'm getting no views, guys. None. I think this is like important, like amazing info. I think a lot of people would love to know, but it's just not, the algorithms ain't helping either. So if you guys can help me by sharing it and liking it and all that, I appreciate it. All right. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.
Robert Dre, Tracy Black.
I would drink, but